Hi everyone, it's Bex from the Pet Bistro. Today I thought I would teach you all how to read your pet food labels and know exactly what's in your pet's food. This is really important, but also something that a lot of people don't take the time to either understand or even investigate, and it can result in our pets becoming really sick and having human-like illnesses. Now, when we pop into the local supermarket and do our groceries, the pet store, or even the vet, and we pick up our pet's food, many of us just take it for granted that we think we're doing the best for our pets. Unfortunately, in the wild, dogs were never intended to eat biscuits or kibble. Just think about that. If we go back thousands of years ago and we put dogs back into their natural environment, it's very highly unlikely that they would actually find themselves a bowl of brown biscuits to eat. However, with clever marketing and what I would describe as a pretty disgusting industry, that's exactly what most of us have been fooled into feeding our pets. Some of us even pay a lot of money for those little brown balls. So today I really wanted to talk to you about what's in those brown balls, how do they make them, and is this good for our pets? Now, the first thing that you want to do is get your packet of pet food out. Now, I do have a packet in front of me and I'm not going to show you the label. I think that's a little bit unfair. But the label that I do have in front of me was a very expensive label that I got from a pet shop when we first got our puppy. Now, that pet food made my dog very sick, and I couldn't understand why. This is basically how the Pet Bistro came about, by the way, so it is kind of exciting to be able to tell you the little story behind that. Now, when my dog was sick and we used to take it to the vet, not for 1 second did I expect that it was going to be my $160 bag of food that I was feeding, because it looked delicious on the outside of the packet. But one day over a cup of tea, I was just thinking to myself, oh, I wonder what's in this pet food. And so I started reading the label. So imagine my surprise when I found a whole lot of words that I didn't understand. Immediately that made me think, this is actually not food, this is chemicals and this is additives. And so I started doing some research, and thus the Pet Bistro was born. But it's really important now that I can pass that information on to other pet parents. So when you get your packet of food, which I would like to think you now have in front of you, legally, pet food companies, just like human ones, have to list their ingredients from the highest ingredient down to the smallest ingredient. So we would like to think that the very first ingredient on the back of that packet has got something to do with meat. Now, unfortunately, there are some biscuits out there that their first additive is wheat. Now, we all know that dogs are not supposed to eat wheat. But what happens if your pet food label says that it has beef meal, poultry meal, or perhaps it even describes it as a beef byproduct? Now, it's really important to understand what a meat meal is. It sounds okay, doesn't it? But basically, meat meal is made from slaughterhouse remains that are inedible to humans, and basically, for want of a better word, would and should be disposed of, except they're gathered up and they're basically put in a big cooking pot, a bit like a stew, and it's called rendering. Now, what happens with rendering is it renders down at a very high heat and basically dries and evaporates all the liquid out so that they're left with the powder. Now, that powder is the basis of what makes your dog food up. So we're talking about inedible remains from the slaughterhouse that are now being fed to your pet. It's also really important to remember that in a slaughterhouse, every edible component is used. And that includes even blowing the meat off the bones to the nth degree. It's called MDM. And so if we're talking about a rendering process and about what they're making meat meal out of, it's literally no goodness in it whatsoever. The only claim to fame that they can make is the fact that it did originally come from a beef or from a chicken or from a fish. That's pretty disgusting, right? The other thing on your pet food labels that you will see as you go on down is quite often they will have lots of fillers. This could be peas, this could be corn, this could be wheat, this could be rice, this could be oats, and it's also full of soy, especially in dog rolls. Now, soy is a filling ingredient, so literally if they put soy into dog rolls, it swells them up 4 or 5 times so they can add water to it so they get more product or more bang for their buck. A lot of dogs are very, very, very allergic to soy. But get this, with very clever marketing, the thing is that pet food companies disguise it so that average people like you and me, when we go into the supermarket, have no idea that our products are containing it. They can disguise it with words like vegetable extract. That sounds like we're doing something healthy, doesn't it? Further down that list, you always get to what I call the 1% component, which is usually always salt or iodine. Now this usually always sits at 1%. Anything listed after salt at 1% is so minimal, it's purely really only there for advertising purposes. Now I can pretty much guarantee that on your dog food labels, all the good things, the carrots, the pumpkin, the spinach, or all the things that they promote on the front of their packets are always listed basically right down at the end underneath all of the multivitamins that they have listed there. Now that means that there's no nutritional benefit to your pet at all. It's purely there for marketing, and at such a minimum quantity it will have no effect on your pet. Now let's go back to the synthetic vitamins. This is also really, really important because there's a long list on every pet food packet of these synthetic vitamins. Now they have to throw literally a synthetic vitamin into this food to make it some value to pets. Now if they didn't put this multivitamin in, there would be literally no value in your pet eating this food at all. It's quite sad, isn't it? There's an old joke in the industry about AAFCO testing, and that's the American Federation, where they test all of the pet food and they say that that fits within the AAFCO standard. The joke within the industry is that you can make a bag of sand pass through that standard as long as you throw a multivitamin at it. And that, my friends, is what we're feeding our dogs. So I hope that's been really, really helpful to you. I want you to go back and look at your own dog food packets and really investigate like I did. See the artificial additives, see the colors, see the enhancers, see the flavor enhancers, see the fats and the sprays that they have to spray onto this food to make it appealing to your dog. Now, if you gave your dog a choice between real food, meat and vegetables, dogs are omnivores, and a plate of biscuits, the chances are your dog is not going to choose a bowl of biscuits. Now that's because dogs have a very sensitive nose, far more sensitive than the human nose, as we all know. And that means that dogs actually aren't silly. Dogs know that they should be eating real food. And unfortunately for us, every single day we dish up our fur babies a bowl of what I equate to dry cornflakes. How would you feel as a parent, or even as a person entertaining your friends? Would you continually dish out the same meal day after day after day and it's dry? It would be really boring, right? And yet that's not what nature intended at all. Hey, I hope this has been really helpful, and look out for our next little video. And in the meantime, if you've got any questions, feel free to email us. Our food's going to be launched very, very shortly, and we really look forward to sharing that all with you. Take care out there. Stay safe. Bye.